Welcome to Build Theory. I'm Aurian Archive. Let's get started. Over the last day, a couple of City of Hero players started browsing through some of the builds I posted, and one of them was inspired to try their own hand at making a build and wanted me to comment on it. Well, they chose an electric Super Reflexes Sentinel. Well, I've made a Sentinel an assault rifle super reflexes build, so I figured first of all I'd bring up the build and compare the two. Uh, in the last hour or so, I've discovered that for various reasons, likely related to changing power identities and enhancement identities, the current version of Mids Hero Reborn will not open some of the builds that I've archived into the Aurian archive. Kind of a problematic, and there's a hard crash out. However, these builds still open up fine in the Pines Hero Designer, copies of which still can be found in. You can either get it on Discord, you can get it from. I think the Homecoming forums may have a link to the old Pine builds. And I will certainly be bringing this hard crash out to their attention, in that it's apparently a series of files, mostly apparently related to Sentinel saves, that are having errors loading. I'm assuming that is something that can be corrected for in the Mids Hero Reborn software. So, what exactly are we looking at besides what's on the screen behind me? Well, in the foreground, I've got my old SR or yeah, ARSR build. And as we can see when I go over the total, that my old this build is from 2018, I think. We can see that we've got soft cap to melee, ranged, and AoE. It's built so that the Sentinel chant for absorb proc is on the T1. The Sentinel chant for opportunity is on the T3, that thus taking up a, at the time, difficult to fill targeted AoE attack slot. Slug is run all the way out. M30 grenade picks up the overwhelming force to counter the knockback from the M30 grenade. We see that Enduring gives us both our endurance modification and is used for Luck of the Gambler proc. In order to boost the HP cap as high as possible, I've slagged off on using the Luck of the Gambler 3 slots and gone for Shield Wall 3 slot for that 2.25% hit buff. Now we see later on I went with a 3 slot Luck of the Gambler, and that's because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had one more slot to place, and that's didn't have, or rather, one more Luck of the Gambler place, and no slot to fill this out to 4 like I had done up here with Weave. We also see that this build was centered around using fire cages to hold enemies at bay. And there's just one slight problem with this. The end cost is still 13.16 end per cast. So chunking fire cages on auto is a good way to run out of endurance entirely. Doesn't matter what kind of recovery you have. I think only a couple of maybe kinetics can get away with something like that. Maybe something with electrical affinity, buff, debuff set could get away with that kind of offload. We also picked up warmth to act as healers. And if we look over at the build over here, wait, holy cow, did it actually load? Wow, it actually did it. So on the last run up, I got errors, but all right. What I did was a massive hack. What I did was I opened up PhD, and I did short form export, and then in short form export I went export data chunk as well as data link. I opened up a forum post, posted in the build, grabbed a data chunk, and came back to PhD new, and then did import from forum post. Still got some errors, but hey, it looked like the build actually did load. Wow, I should have paid more attention to that before I started streaming. Well, that's nice to know. I stick in here and make sure. Okay. Yeah, we are streaming properly. Sorry. I was not expecting that. Okay, so we can go ahead and then swap over. And since we that got also while I'm on here, you can see that Master Brawler is in place instead of Practice Brawler, a change that really should have been rolled out across all of the all of the Super Reflexes builds, not just to the Sentinel version. Okay. Oh, here we go. Now we've got the crash, unhandled exception, details. Yeah. Continue. So if this dies on me in a minute, I apologize in advance. Let's do a quick change over here. Where are you? 1, and we will swap to. Okay, and here's the build that the other player actually made. All right, already there are some big problems here. Lightning bolt with a knockdown. This is where you want your either chant for absorb or chant for opportunity. A full set of karma? Really? Uh, um, I don't want to click on totals now, do I? I really don't want to click on totals. All right. Uh, we are getting some problems on calculating totals for the concept build. So I'm going to try and save this and reopen it. And let's see what happens. No, we are still getting unhandled exceptions all over the place, and no, the build is not actually loading. So we're going to swap back on that window at least to PhD. So we can at least have a look at what's going on with this. And again, I will be bringing these problems to the attention of the Mid-Tier Reborn team and see if they can figure out what went wrong. All right, so the totals on my old build are melee 50, range 49, AoE 52. Let's see what this one looked like. Oh dear lord. Yeah, these three values here, melee, ranged, AoE, they're kind of, pardon me while I try not to scream this, the most critical values to a super reflexes. These are the values that determine whether or not your character gets hit. Not maxing these out to 45% is this build is going to go splat in a hurry. Okay. All right, so what we are going to do then is I'm going to hard backport my pre-existing build into I'm going to backport the pre-existing build that is functioning in the is functioning in PhD. I'm going to backport it into or I'm just going to copy it over power by power, and then we're going to convert that build into Elect Blast, and we'll see what we get. Also, another note here, skipping short circuit, skipping short circuit, skipping short circuit. Okay, okay. Here's what an electrical blast on Sentinel should probably look like. This is my Sentinel Elect Blast Ice Armor that I've shown on camera before, standing in the middle of a 707 fire farm, just tanking it. Yeah, don't skip short circuit. And as you can see here, this Sentinel Ice is smashing lethal energy negative fire cold. And if you're going, wait a second, but smashing lethal's not in the soft cap. Oh, yes, it is. Uh, this is what ideally an Elect Blast set should probably look like. The only skippable power here is Lightning Bolt. And that's simply because it just does the defensive opportunity, which on Sentinels with armors is I don't want to say pointless, because I do have actually a couple of Sentinels that did benefit from it while leveling. This is one of those where if you're making a leveling build, you might actually be better off taking the T2 instead of the T1, simply because you get that extra burst of survivability. It's once you can forward IOs and actually slot your character out, can you really go to town. Actually, what may be easier to do here is to convert my Ice Armor to an SR. There should be a close number of matching powers, since I already have a pretty good blast set. And Ice is also a defensive set. I'm trying to think of which way it's going to be the best way to go here. Or I can just do it both ways. Let's see how that goes. So we'll hold this one off, my Elect Blast, for a minute or two. And we're going to open up another window. And we're just going to we'll go ahead and get this one. No, I don't want to import. We'll do this one nuclear. And we'll swap our window here to our nuclear. Okay, there we are. We are still on Elect Blast Super Reflexes, so we're going to change this to Assault Rifle Super Reflexes. And now I'm just going to remake, Burst, Focus Fighting, Buckshot, Focus Census, Slug, Agile, Master Brawler, M30 Grenade, and I went with Super Jump. I think I actually swapped her over to Mighty Leap at some point, so yes, I probably did. So we're going to swap Super Jump for Force of Will and Mighty Leap for the new build, and then we're going to do Enduring, and then we're going to do Flamethrower, and then we're back to Dodge. And then we're going to take aim. Incidentally, this reason aim's taken so late here is that by level 20, that's Positron Task Force cutoff for powers, you still have dodge. So you're still bringing in that melee, and you're still bringing in one of the few cones that Assault Rifle gets. So putting aim to later, you still get it in Synapse Task Force and then onwards. Okay, and then after aim, you can tell this is an old build because I hadn't gotten around to punching in kick over boxing. And Incinerator, and then Tough, and then Weave, and then Full Auto, and then Evasion. And then I went with Fire Mastery for Cremate, then Fire Sword Circle, then Warmth, then Fire Cages, and then last topping it off with Quickness. Now we got a full 6 slot on Burst, 1, 2, 3 on Focus Fighting, full 6 slot on Buckshot, 1, 2, 3 on Focused, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 slot on Slug, Agile, 4 slots, Master Brawler. By the way, if you need to take a slot off, just hold down the Shift button and left click. Slot comes off. M30 Grenade, 5 slot. Mighty Leap, just 1 slot. Enduring, 2 slot. Flamethrower, all the way down. Dodge, 1 slot. Aim, 1 slot. Kick, 1 slot. Incinerator, 5 slot. Tough, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, 5. Weave, 1, 2, 3, 4. Full Auto, all the way down. Evasion, 1, 2, 3. Cremate, 5 slot. Fire Sword Circle, 5 slot. Warmth, all the way down. Fire cages, 5 slot, but we shouldn't have any slots left, do we? Oh, yes, we do. Down in health. Okay, there we go. We've got our slot moved over. Now let's work on the powers. And again, the reason why these powers are taken at these particular points, your T1, which is also your what opens up your Sentinel Inherent chant for offensive damage. You really want the Absorb on here because this is the power where if you're stuck on a hardened target, you're going to be hitting this power the most often. Now, okay, the way the PPM proc per minute system does work now, it was implemented late in the gameplay by Paragon Studios. You do get a greater chance for a proc to go off. Where do I have that, anyways? While I'm thinking about procs. Okay, it's down on weave. So we're going defense, endurance, recharge, and then a flat defense to bring these all the way up. Because these are PvP powers, we can safely just slam all of them into +5. On the buckshot, where we're going back to the Sentinel set, and this time we're doing Chant for Opportunity. Chant for Opportunity, if I believe, it goes across all the powers. Doesn't actually give me a description. Do I get a description in the holdover? No, not really. Chant for Opportunity, I think, is a global proc. So as soon as you slot it, every power is getting a chance to increase opportunity. Now, the reason why I did the ATOs, and you'll see in many of my Sentinel builds, the ATOs are on the third slot. In most range sets, the third slot is always a targeted AoE. Well, previously, your targeted AoE options were pretty much only Frozen Blast and Overwhelming Force. And if we can see on my old build, Frozen Blast is already in use on full auto. Overwhelming Force is in use on M30 Grenade. And the purple set, Ragnarok, which isn't actually being used. I could actually do Ragnarok on fire cages. I think I did a Mobilite for the chance for hold. I am kind of thinking about, since I never really used fire cages in practice, swapping it to char. And the thing is, we'll get to that when I get there. We're going to go ahead and right now swap fire cages for char. And we'll explain that when I get down there. Okay. So, powers, again, we're back to defense, endurance, recharge, defense. Anyway, do you want the ATOs? Because I'm getting so far ahead of myself, I'm not sure where I've been. Anyways, while I'm thinking about it, anything I can rapidly swap out for? Why do I have this? Okay, I had that on Flamethrower for AoE. I'm pretty sure. Well, we'll worry about that when I get there. Okay, Slug. Slug was range damage. I don't have anything new for range damage. Anyways, as I just said, when I bring it up here, you can see that in TAOE, I don't have that many powers. So you pretty much on a TAOE, you're limited to Overwhelming Force, ATOs, the purple Ragnarok, maybe Annihilation if you needed to pick up some AoE defense. Fire defense, or Frozen Blast, which gives you AoE defense and fire defense. The PvP Javelin Volley and Positron Blast is the less I say here, the happier I'm going to be. Okay, going back to so you'll see on many builds where you might have an ATOs or you might have a targeted AoE. That's a good place to really think about putting your ATOs, because your ATOs on average, the archetype enhancement will have, and the event enhancement, in which case there is an event enhancement for targeted AoE, Frozen Blast, give you much better performance than any other IO set. Now, we don't have a whole lot of ranged options here in Slug, which is why I'm going with Thunderstrike, because it gives me that really deep range defense. Now, what I'm kind of thinking off in my head here is maybe for Slug, go ahead and doing this, because down here on Char, I can do either, I could actually do a Basilisk Gaze and pick up some recharge time and some range defense. How far total am I on range? Okay, I've got enough room on ranged, and that's not even with agility radial kicked on. Yeah, agility radial kicked on. It's just sick. All right, so I actually could free up a slot here and go range there. Uh, One or the other, and again, okay, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. We'll go ahead and try to build it up like it is right now, and then think about modifications once I get it copied over. Because if I try to do the modifications in flight, this might be ultimately highly confusing for everyone involved. All right, Agile is an auto power, so we don't need to worry about uh, any kind of endurance reduction. So in this case, we're not really pushing it into the top, but between the +5 defense and the scaling luck of the gambler, no, I did not plus it. We've got You want your luck of the gambler to go up and down the maximum level range with you. Now I did a straight heal for some reason when I was making Master Brawler, and that's because it's not affected by recharge really. Or it's not affected by much. So this really is one of the few places where a standard IO, if you have no other slots to give to it, is probably the better option. Just your best return on value. Okay, M30 grenade. Now, again, thinking down forwards, we have enough range defense to know about. I could actually take M30 grenade, or I could do a. What I could do is now you're getting to see how I normally think about things. If I do a basilisk gaze down here in char, I free up a slot in M30 grenade that I can now take a sudden acceleration set, which gives me more hit points, damage buff, and a greater recharge time. And as you'll note, I'm going through and +5ing all of the non-proc aspects of sudden acceleration. Okay, and now we're on to Mighty Leap. And Mighty Leap, we're at +5. Enduring, we had a Luck of the Gambler proc, which was that. And then we just had a standard enhancement, endurance enhancement. Now, this actually would be a good place to do something like endurance mod increased run speed. Because you still get some, and if you take agility incarnate power here, then enduring will be, well, let's just go ahead and turn it on. Agility radial boost, agility radial. Okay, agility radial turned on. We now see that enduring is now giving us 66% return, which is, if I click on agility here in the old build, okay, we're at 86 there. Let's do this comparison. Well, I haven't finished the rest of the build, so not everything's showing. So let's try and finish the rest of the build without getting too distracted. Okay, flamethrower. One of the reasons why I went with annihilation, other than the AoE defense, is that annihilation has a resist proc in it. Assault rifle generally doesn't get a whole lot of damage boost. It's a smashing lethal power, or a smashing lethal set, and if you heard me howl and moan about a cold AR, this is the full-blown rant about why AR sucks. The original intent of AR on blasters was that you had to take devices, specifically the device's targeting drone, in order to get a damage boost on the sniping power. I believe at some point this was actually changed over so that you no longer had to have devices with the targeting drone in order to get a damage boost on your sniping rifle. Otherwise, there was no way to power up your AR. You were stuck with flat damages. No special ammo, no nothing. Now, devs kind of admitted that that was a bit of a big mistake. Later on, that had to be a resist endurance. Yes, got to be in a resist endurance. And then the proc. Dev later kind of admitted on with dual pistols and that was the Unbreakable Guard max HP. Yep, Unbreakable Guard max HP. Yeah, and resist. The live devs kind of admitted as much later on with dual pistols when they gave the different mode that you could fire in, incendiary, cryonic, chemical. that maybe having shooting flat straight, smashing lethal, and doing nothing else and not providing a damage boost was probably not a really good idea. And we'll go defend. Oh, no, wait, no, no, no. This is where I need to proc. 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 Okay, full auto. Full auto has Frozen Blast. And, okay, anyways, going back to the point. So assault rifle, it's never been rebalanced or readjusted to account for the fact that it was underbalanced from the very start. It was underpowered, over endurance consumption, under recharged. It's basically a giant mess. Uh, Now, you might be asking, well, if you hate AR so much, why did you make one? Well, point in fact, on the secret server for the Sentinel version, uh, the Power developers started playing around with some improvement to the AR set. First of all, you can see that AR on defenders or AR on Sentinels does get aim, which is a nice big improvement. And there is some more. If we go through the damages and we actually check the damage values, they are on average higher than they would be if they had been built to the value that the Cryptic devs didn't use. Yes, I said it. Did not use. And we are almost finished converting this over. And I'm also plussing up all of the preventative medicines. Although this recharge would be nice to have at all levels, it's more important that I crater that endurance cost as much as possible. And in quickness, we are doing a single in quickness. Okay, Swift, we need a run speed in here. We need a jump speed in hurdle. And we're doing 2 Nominas in health. And so Numi 1, and then Numi health. Okay. That's bringing the build over, made those minor changes. What does that look like in totals? All right, we are still. Let's turn agility off so we have an apples to apples comparison. All right, with agility off, we're still running 50.2 melee, 50.2 melee, 49.33, 49.3, 52.49, 52.5. So we are still, even with those minor changes, running almost exactly the same defense value than that before agility even gets into play. We click on agility, and our recovery on the old build is 4.14. Recovery now is 4.09. End drain 0.9. Do I have something not turned on? Focus fighting, focus census. This is one thing where I do like how PhD highlights all the powers that are owned entirely in green. I really wish, and as far as I can tell, there's no option to enable that kind of view on the on Mid-Zero Reborn. But guys, this is just so much better. I mean, it really is. Okay, so yeah, here it's really hard to tell. It's just subtle shading in these dots here on what's on and what's off. But we have focus fighting on, focus senses on, agile on, master brawler off, enduring on, dodge on, aim off, kick off, incinerator tough on, weave on, full auto, evasion, quickness on. Yeah, for some reason we are pulling down way. Oh, I see. Let's turn Ninja Run off. Okay, 0.9. Okay, so a little bit more endurance recovery on the old build, having used the overwhelming force and a purple and gravitational anchor. Moving to Char. Now, one of the things we could actually do here is swap some slotting around. Now, I kind of actually, if you click on window at the top and then set some bonuses, it'll actually give you an effects breakdown, which will tell you whether or not you're capping into anything. Since we know that we're already well into soft capital range, I could change this out to, say, a purple here and pick up that extra regeneration. And that may free us up a slot here. Where, maybe we could do Entome, which we'd lose some recharge time, but we'd pick up recharge time over here. And the power we're really worried about right now is full auto, because that's our primary mass damage dealer. Fire Cage is just the endurance cost too high to be a useful damage dealer. So our recharge is at 32.5 seconds in this particular build. So let's plan on changing that around. We're going to take a slot from Slug. Okay. If you are in total mode, you can still remove slots, but it's really difficult. If you're in info mode, it's much easier to place and remove slots. So we're going to quickly swap this over to a purple, pick up that extra recharge and regeneration and that damage buff, because that damage buff is sweet. All right, and then let's see what we got to work with. We're down to 47.5. We picked up some AoE defense now, and I'm not sure where the AoE defense just came from. Oh no, it was already that high to begin with. Don't mind me. I just forgot agility was still on. What happens when I turn agility off? Okay, we're still in the soft capital range. And we are pushing only a 1.25% range here. If we swapped over to Entomb, we bump up to 2.5% range. We also gain a little bit more resistance to fire cold and some more recovery. So that's a change we're going to make. If you come up to slots and enhancement, do slots and auto arrange all slots. I know you can't see it, but just trust me, it's there. If you do this yourself, you'll see it. So now that we've auto arranged all slots, we go back to info. We should have an extra slot here. And now we're going to swap over and do Entomb. And the other reason why you want to do this is Entomb has a chance for absorb proc. So this gives you yet another place where if you're up against a hardened target, cough, Ricky dropship, cough, or anything else that you'd really want to put a hold on, cough, Hamadon raid, cough, Hamadon raid, that extra absorb is probably really nice. Okay, check our slots and bonuses. We have still not gone into any red. What's our full auto look like? We are at 32.5 seconds. I don't even think that changed at all. And check back here. Our recharge on the old build is at 29.93. Oh, that's with agility turned on. Let's check that. 33 points. So we've dropped almost a full second from our full auto recharge on this updated revamped build. I'd call that a win. Well, we've still kept in our resist proc on flamethrower, so I'm going to call this an R6 build and prop it into the Sentinel folder. Sentinel assault rifle SR R6. Okay. Now we're going to take this build. I'm going to go up here to assault rifle and I'm going to change it to electrical blast. 3 powers. Just 3 powers. Whew. Okay. Now to figure out what... Okay, I can actually still reference this old build. We lost the sudden acceleration, which was a high recharge. We lost Incinerator, which was our winter bite, which gave us defense to range. And we lost our Annihilation, which was our resist proc and defense AoE. Voltaic Sentinel, well, that's a high recharge pet, and there's a defense AoE right in Call to Arms, which also gives us a nice little recharge proc as well. So we're going to come in here to Voltaic Sentinel and prop you up with Call to Arms. We'll +5 everything but the proc. And there we are. Voltaic Sentinel is spec'd out. We've got 2.5% AoE. On this one, we had 3.75 defense AoE, but we were already well in the soft capital on AoE. So now we've picked up a resist proc, or defense proc, excuse me, and we've picked up some recharge that Annihilation didn't offer. Did we pick up anything on regen? We picked up some hit points, not regeneration. We did pick up some more resist, so 2.5% end recovery versus 1.35% max end. So we've kind of this also had an endurance discount. So we've had a little change off there, but nothing too major. Short circuit. Well, we're going to come back to that in a second because I'm pretty sure down here in Tulsa Cage, we can now throw our superior winner's bite. And we can actually take this one all the way out to 6 slots. And we'll pick up the extra AoE defense that we just potentially lost to Voltaic Sentinel. Now, we are missing some recharge time, so we're going to go, what we're going to do is Armageddon. Armageddon it! Now, actually, to be fair, too, here, you could either do Synapse Shock at 5 procs, you still get a 6.25% recharge, and then you get some endurance recovery and endurance drain. And if you really wanted to be nasty, because Short Circuit should return some endurance back to you, let's see whether or not it does that. Lock it off. Oh yeah, if you right click on a power, it locks it off. You get this unlock button here. And does it endurance 35% target recovery to target? Does it actually recovery? Nope. No, it doesn't actually return any endurance to the player. Well, that's disappointing. Okay. So, 2 ways to go here. You can do Armageddon for maximum damage. Wow, really? Okay. We'll leave it like that. And Armageddon it. Are you getting it? Armageddon it. All right, there we go. That's what it looks like with with Armageddon in place. All right, let's check our totals. We are still in soft cap 2, and make sure, let's turn agility off. Without agility, we are still in the melee ranged AoE soft cap. Our fire cold of 4141. Check our windows, set some bonuses. We are actually capped into something. We are capped into our fire cold resist and a recovery cap on Superior and Tome. So we're actually here on Armageddon. We're using up that 4.5% recovery, and we're using up that 6.6% resistant fire. We're only getting the accuracy and the recharge time bonus. So now that we know that, we actually will get a better return on our character, changing this over to Synapse Shock. Now, that does feature us, maybe a chance for us to get a little ugly here and put chance for heal self over an enduring. All right, and so we'll go back over to Short Circuit, and we will change this out to Synapse Shock. And some people are going, we did not know you could talk so fast. I've had 4 monsters today. I really want another. All right, there we go. Synapse Shock. Now, unlike Armageddon, that song is not going to be stuck in my head. I'm going to have to turn Manifest back on to get that out of my head. And I'm going to start whistling Light It Up. Which, okay, I'm strangely okay with. Okay, so Short Circuit, we've lost some damage, but now we've got a wicked endurance recovery debuff going on. And we've picked up some recharge time. Check our sets and bonuses. What's our Thunderous Blast? What's our recharge time look like over on Thunderous Blast? We are at 31 seconds. Yeah, a nuke on 31 seconds. And we are rocking. What's our totals look like? We are still into soft caps on all these values. Recovery, we're only pushing 3.51 on a 0.91 endurance drain. Not much end reduction. So in this case, if you're running out of endurance, the easiest thing to change is, of course, going to be that chant for heal self. Change it over to an invention endurance modification proc, and now that barely even moved. Do I have something turned off? Turned on? Oh, no, that's the same. Wow. 3 point. Okay. Comparing values with agility turned on. Okay. 3.75 versus 3.82. We've actually not collapsed that far. So coming back. We'll put that back to chance to heal self. Okay. Okay, 3.51. That actually is a pretty serious drop. So that's kind of player's discretion which one is more valuable. The heal over time, it's just you can be nasty with it. But if you keep running out of health, that kind of presents a problem. All right. So we're going to save this as Sentinel Elec SR R1. Actually, we're going to, yeah, we'll do it as R1 Alpha because there was something else that I said I was going to do. Now we're going to load up our Electric Blast. So we're going to say goodbye for a second or two to our older. Actually, no, I just want to change the window. Come here, PhD hero designer. No, I don't want. Where are you? Sentinel Electric Blast Ice Armor. There we are. And we'll move you back in frame. And now we're going to come back to our work window. And we're going to open up that ice armor. Come on, Electric Blast. Electric Blast Ice Armor R2, open. Okay, and now we're going to swap Ice Armor for SR. And then what do we have changed? Yeah, talk about taking a power edit where it didn't belong. Whew. All right, so we lost our slots in Hoarfrost. We lost our slots in Wet Ice. We lost our slots in we lost our slots in Permafrost. Looked like we kept everything else. What do our defenses look? Wow. Okay. Let's turn our powers back on. We're actually not doing too bad. So we're going to start with Defense Endurance, filling these back out. Defense Endurance Recharge. And we'll do Defense there. Okay. And we'll do a Luck of the Gambler proc. And we'll do a Luck of the Gambler proc. Alright, we have... Actually, on this build, I have combat jumping as well. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because dodge is an auto. So we can get out of info for a second. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Alright, dodge. Well, no. We'll do defense all the way. And then defense recharge to maximize our defense here. Agile. Alright, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Evasion is a toggle. Quickness is an auto. Slam that in there. Free up another slot. Agile is an auto. So proc. Defense. And we can do either defense endurance or defense recharge. 3 slots. And we'll pick up the scaling resist proc. Evasion. So now we got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so evasion. We'll go full defense endurance. Defense recharge. And then defense. Okay, and the same thing here. You can see I've got charged bolts with my Uh, with chance, well, this time I got it reversed. Charge bolts with chance for opportunity, ball lightning with chance for absorb. I think when I was doing this because of ice armor, a little bit more confident about getting in close. Since you have more, well, you have some melee powers. You definitely got melee powers in short circuit. Okay, so there we go, and we could take something in 16. Do we got any? Well, first of all, let's check our totals. Are we missing anything? We're actually at 44, 43, 55. And we're on spiritual for a healing. So all we would have to do is just pick up a little bit more defense. And we have no slots left to play around with. Our toggles. Did I actually take do we have where's our resist? Oh, we are missing a couple of we're missing 2 procs. And it looks like, where did I take them on here? Yeah, I took them in tough. Okay, tough being used to boost up fire, defense, cold. So for over here on enduring, now took super speed on this build. I took super speed, so I needed combat jumping for air movement. So, okay, what's going to be the easiest to drop? Okay, we can actually take some slots from kick. And we'll put kick on the proc and then turn it off and then do window. No, not window slots and enhancement slots. Auto arrange all slots. And then we'll move. Where is kick? Kick's at 30. Move kick down. We'll move tough way earlier in the build. And then right down here, we'll pick up rehabilitating circuit because having a heal is always a hoot. And now we're going to lay this out the same thing as our assault rifle build. We're going to go with the resist defense proc. In slot 1, we're going to go with gladiator's armor, resistance, endurance. In slot 2, slot 3, we're going to pick up the TP proc. And then in slot 4, we're going to go unbreakable guard, max HP. Now we still got a couple of slots to play around with for rehabilitating circuit. And in order to 2 ways we could go about here. We could swap Master Brawler over to Rehabilitating Circuit and just do a quick 3 slot in here. Maybe do something like Numi. Or, I know what we're going to do. The thing is, Master Brawler doesn't give us the same kind of return that Frigid Shield gives us. So we're going to take some slots from here. We're actually going to move Lightning Field down to swap with. Can I do that? Actually, no. Oh, I know. Move Quickness all the way down. All right. And we're going to move Woo there. We're going to move you there. We're going to move Havoc Punch up 1. Okay. Now, there's something you can actually do in respecs that you may not be able to do by leveling. You can stick 6 slots down here on the final one while respecking, but you won't have that option if you're leveling to 50. So you can actually do weave down here and see how the slots get grayed out, as if you play slots where they, in a form, they can't go naturally. The build will still be valid in game. Continue. Yeah, and I just got an exception because now I'm deliberately dragging things where they can't go. All right. Now this may give us, let's turn you to a Numi heal endurance, and you to a Numi heal. We're going to bump you up with a Numi heal endurance. We have no slots left. And now rehabilitating circuit, we're going to take out with preventative medicine. And what I'm trying to do is trying to make sure that I keep a build that is legally viable on the first run. Okay, now let's check this out. We're still running on spiritual, not agility, but we are soft capped to melee ranged AoE. And our recovery is 3.8. Our end drain is 1.38, so we're still about in the same range. Our regeneration is 20.3, or 280%. On this build, we've now picked up Lightning Field. Now, I will admit in here, Tesla Cage is being used to host Entomb, even though it's actually a very devastating damage power. Now that we've freed up some AoE, though, and some ranged, can we swap this over to a damage power? And the answer is immediately looking to be yes. Doesn't look like we've dropped below soft caps. And we can keep our recharge chance for absorb. So now we've got some extra damage and our sentinel power, and we've still got our absorb extra protection. So there we go. That's taking an ice armor, elect blast ice armor, and changing it into an elect armor SR. Alright, let's now, since we're morbidly curious, we'll save this as elect blast SR R1 Bravo. I think I just typed Brave into the Bravo. I'm good with Brave because you'd have to be pretty brave to use this. All right, let's bring these two up next to each other. We've got our old build over here. Could I make those same changes to Ice Armor now to the old build? Turn Tesla Cage into a damage attack. Take those slots from kick. Well, I don't really have as much options to work with over on Ice Armor. So my gut reaction is looking at it, no, I can't really backpoint the changes I just made to SR back in the ice. Because all the changes I made were specific to SR. I've already got weave, and the only way I could maybe do it is if I somehow dropped a power and took maneuvers. Now, if I drop combat, I could drop combat jumping. And in place of combat jumping, then take leadership, maneuvers, and then over in super speed, change that over to experimentation, let's say speed of sound. Now I went with, I had the winner's gift in here for that low level whatchamacall. I'm thinking real quickly. Changing to maneuvers. Is there anything else I can drop to pick up some? What does that look like, anyways? All right, I'd still be in fire cold soft caps. If I could pick up a couple more slots there. Frost protection. Can't really take anything from there. Let's drop out kick. Let's just go blank here. I'm now down to smashing lethal weapons if I hit moisture absorption. Alright, let's grab some slots from kick. And we're going to bump maneuvers out, and we're going to bump moisture absorption up. And luck of the gambler, defense, endurance. Luck of the gambler, defense, endurance, recharge. Actually, no, instead of if I took speed of sound or speed, I'd really still want. So we'll change over to force of will and mighty leap and run this out the same way. Okay. And if we ran you out with a moisture absorption, ran you out with a defense, actually go defense endurance. Alright, I am now capped on regeneration, actually. But what's it now look like now? Whoa. With moisture absorption up, I'm almost back in the soft cap on smashing lethal. I just have to pick up a still running agility on this, right? No, I'm running spiritual. Yeah, if I hit agility, I'd actually be into soft caps. Oh, I'm so close. Huh. Just get that out. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm now puzzling this through. Take those. This freed up a slot. Let's see, without moisture absorption. Take the procs down there. Huh. What happens if I change this over to agility? Agility, radial paragon. What am I at now? I'm now at. Where are you? Get you out of the way. No, I don't want to maximize you. I'll just minimize you. Freedom Phalanx Atlas 10. Agility. Agility's not actually buying me that much. Is there anything in damage? Yeah, but I'm already using Frozen Blah or Winter's Bite. Feel like I'm back to where. Yeah. Okay. What's going through my head right now is I don't want to lose the. I think if I, because I've lost all of my soft caps here. Uh, Making those little changes, taking out the Entomb, because Entomb was adding a lot of defense. And there's no good place to pick those values back up. Yeah, so swapping combat jumping to try and free up a damage in Tesla cage. I sort of like, yeah, I'm still there with moisture absorption. but it goes from being able to passive to I just need a couple more points and just no other real good place to get them. Mm, like if I had a hold up in here, a paralyzing jolt. I mean, I don't even know why I'm bothering with trying to make that kind of change because I already know that the build works. I mean, I've been using it. So I don't really have a reason to change it other than uh, I'd like to be passive to smashing lethal, but if I'm not getting passive to smashing lethal, then making those changes really isn't worth it. Okay, and I realize some people might be going, well, what's the difference between passive and active? Defense is defense. Well, not really. The complicating factor here between passive, having defense that's at 45% base, you're just moving around and it's there, and having it at active is that active defense requires the player to be engaged and aware of all events and able to react to all of those events. If your if your build, let's focus on our smashing lethal defense here. If if something stuns me or I get caught up, I'm attacking a single target. There's a lot going on the screen, and I lose track of what my values are, of what my defense values are, and moisture absorption runs out, and I fall below the smashing lethal point. I now have a limited window of activity in which I can respond and get moisture absorption back up and running. So I'm dependent on a single click power for my build to function against specific enemies. And I've got a bunches of clicks in here. I've got Hoarfrost, I've got Icy Bastion, I've got all these other items going on. So it's very, very easy to get lost and what needs to be clicked when. And if you have a power, in another case is moisture absorption requires you to be within range of an enemy. In that case, in keeping that in mind, it's probably actually a good idea to go with experimentation and speed of sound here, simply because speed of sound gives you a teleport, which helps you get in and out of a fight faster. Super speed gives you a phase through enemies. So in order to maintain smashing lethal defense, I've got to get in and out of fights. The teleport may actually be more useful to me or to this particular build and these particular sets of powers. And we'll go ahead and save that as that change. So that's just being able to be passive to a particular statistic bonus is vital to making it easier for your character to survive. Another case would be a Richte mothership raid. If you are passive to energy negative defense and a Richte mothership raid, then every Richte that spawns in and lags the bowl out, even if you cannot respond because of lag, your button clicks are not going off because your base values are already in the soft cap. The Richte are going to have a harder time hitting you, damaging you, and you're more likely to survive uh, a mass influx of, say, Richte Priests, or Richte Maguses. So that's the big difference there. Simply reaching soft caps is one thing. Having them passive and always on is a much different gameplay experience. And yeah, I've had that talk with people before who go like, "Well, I don't need to be soft capped. I'm doing perfectly fine with 35% defense. I don't know what mean that I need 10 more percent to be soft cap. I'm living what? Why did my character just go splat? Can you come res me?" No. Okay, yeah, I would go res them because generally I'm a hero. I'm not really good at playing the villain. Uh, but freeing up the slots to try and turn Tesla Cage. I mean, in this build, if we go back and look at the build we just did over here with a different armor set, Tesla Cage is much more damaging. If I bring up and lock it off, this build, the SR build is doing 311 on average, and my build is doing 130 on average for Tesla Cage. That's kind of insult to injury. And I really don't have it. Well, I do have other options. I could give up a little bit of recharge here in Frigid, or since Frigid Shield is a toggle, I could just take the stat, or I would be giving up the recharge in preventative medicine. And I could free up a slot or two that way, and maybe swap out combat jumping and speed of sound without. Since I've already made this build and we've saved both versions, we're going to see what that looks like real quickly. So we're going to do Sentinel, date modified, bring up our armor that was just swatted, and we're going to give up some recharge here. And we're going to do slots all enhancements. Auto range all slots. And we're going to change one of these to heal endurance. And we're going to change the other one to simply heal. And we're still with spiritual into soft cap. We're going to go take frost protection. Well, that didn't free me up as many slots as I thought. And we'll take frost protection up. Or it may be worth swapping those. What does frost protection do? Oh, adds plus hit points. That's actually a really good question. What does that look like? Our regeneration right now is 70.78. Okay, let's swap them. Blank these out. And since this is an auto, chant for absorb, heal endurance, 114, frigid shield. Oh, no, since this is a toggle, I can do heal endurance. Okay, there we go. All right, totals. Our regeneration is 70 totals. Compared to this build, regeneration just went up from 69.91 to 70.78, so small bump. Oh, okay. That's actually okay. I'm, kind of good with that. Now looking at our stats, 125 heal, 101 absorb, 125 heal, 101 absorb, so that really hasn't changed. Our endurance discount is higher, but we're an ice armor with moisture absorption, so not really a factor. And frost protection, what's that look like? Now, frost protection is 114 over 84, 86 over 53. What's my advanced totals? And I know this isn't going to show up on screen. Advanced totals. Over here. Max HP 2088, 20. Am I into cap? Oh, I'm into cap. I'm way into cap. What's it look like if I take Hoarfrost off? All right, Hoarfrost off. 118.61 versus this one over here is 118.61. This one is 1826. So that actually was a pretty good changing those. Didn't actually free me up the slots to bump out combat jumping for maneuvers. But still, kind of changed. It just stumbled across. Okay, yeah, we'll roll with that. Can I backport that change into Brave? No, I don't think. No, there weren't two healths. No, yeah, because Brave was SR, not. Okay. Yeah, jumping all around here. So that's two different ways to approach it. I've got a slightly different. Oh, one other thing is the lightning field down here and chance for resist above. That couples in with short circuit. So this is one of the things that you don't want too much debuff to cause enemies to run away, but you want enough debuff to apply more damage. So it just kind of hits a sweet spot. And one of the reasons why my Elect Ice can just sit in the middle of enemies and blast away. All right, so that's two builds to address, two different approaches to addressing an Elect SR. Both builds wound up really close to each other despite having two different ways of getting there. And we'll just, for comparison's sake, now go ahead and bring up. No, I want to save this. Save as. We'll actually bump this up to an R3 because that's a pretty significant survivability increase there. Still kind of going. There's something else I could just think of to maybe drop a little bit of drop some of this from kick and pick up the defense elsewhere, but I'm just not seeing it right now. Because maneuvers on a sentinel doesn't have the base values to pick up the loss of defense overall. And it's basically got the same if I turn combat jumping off. Yeah. All right, so we'll run with that, and let's go ahead and open up our two other sentinel builds, our Elect Blast SR R1 Brave and our Elect Blast SR R1 Alpha. And look at the two of them side by side. As we can see, we've got different powers in different slots, but our totals, if we look at them, we're into soft caps on both different builds. One of them is into way more soft caps. Alpha has a little bit better smashing lethal resistance, a little worse fire cold resistance, regeneration. Let's make sure that everything is. This one has spiritual core active. This one has radial, so let's turn spiritual off for an apples to apples. This one accolades are enabled, so we will enable accolades over here. Portal Jockey Tank for Commander, Atlas Medallion. Okay, now we've got apples to apples for our powers. And actually, we will do incarnates, and we will swap to spiritual. What did I have over here? Spiritual core. We'll run spiritual core over here. We'll turn that off real quickly. Again, apples for apples. And now our regeneration over here is 283% at 21 HP per second regeneration. This one is 257 at 18.69. So slightly better regeneration on Brave, slightly worse regeneration on Alpha. Recovery on Brave, 3.73. Recovery on Alpha, because of Enduring, is 4.15. Endrain, 0.91. Looks like we have the same amount of all powers active. So Endrain on Alpha is 0.91, and drain on Brave is 1.38. Recharge on Brave is 2.12. Recharge on Alpha is 2.08. Thunderous Blast on Brave recharges in 23.37. All powers active. Thunderous Blast recharges in 23.6. All powers active. Uh, Alpha puts out a little bit more PBAOE damage because it does bring Fire Sword to the table. It does bring health, warmth for some health. Brave picks up Rehabilitating Circuit, which also brings a heal to the party, and looks to be more central for getting into the mix and laying some melee damage down between Short Circuit and Lightning Field and Ball Lightning. And again, Ball Lightning is over here with the Chance for Absorb. Chance for Absorb went on charging bolts over here, assuming that SRs you'd be trying to fight more from ranged and only going into melee when you absolutely have to. And if you got into melee, you're just going to drain the endurance out of everything. So two different approaches, two different ways to get to the same result. Either of these builds will probably be perfectly playable. And hopefully that's a little bit more information on making and creating a character, which stats you're looking at, and which enhancements will actually be the ones you'd want to look at. This is Aurian Archive, and I'll be back later, hopefully.